Mary Helen Dara Taylor, Automotive Family Women in the Driver's Seat, and I am standing with Joan Coates on the campus of the University of Findlay. And we are here at the Animal and Pre-Veterinary Studies building. And why are we here, Joan?
Well, we are here to meet with the chair of Animal Science and Pre-Veterinary Studies, Dr. Erin Alava. And actually, their main area where they do most of their work is actually on a farm about 20 miles from here. But her office is here, and we're going to talk to her here.
Well, let's get inside and meet this woman.
So today I have the pleasure of meeting with Dr. Erin Alava, who is the chair of the Department of Animal and Pre-Veterinary Science. We've never really talked to any woman leader that has been in this field, so we're all really looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So thank you for making time for us today.
Absolutely. I appreciate the recognition.
So can you tell us a bit about the journey that led you to your leadership role as chair of the Pre-Veterinary Studies in Animal Science at the University of Findlay?
Sure. So growing up, I raised animals, and so it was a really natural fit for me to want to come and explore education experience in animal science. So that's where I started as an undergrad at The Ohio State University. I did some graduate work, both my master's and PhD at the University of Florida. And then I found a journey through South America and then Wisconsin, and finally had an opportunity to come home. I grew up in the Dayton area, and so I accepted a position here in 2016 as assistant professor. And so then I was part of the faculty group in our department, and then we had a retirement. Our chair of over 20 years retired, and so a leadership opportunity came up, and I threw my name in the hat and was selected to be the next chair. So I started this position August 1st of this year.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you kind of skimmed over Ecuador.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about
Sure,
Ecuador.
absolutely. So immediately following the conclusion of my PhD, I applied for a research fellowship through the government in Ecuador and spent a year doing research there. Most would call it or consider it a postdoc of some sort. So I conducted some research down there through a partnership with Espol University. And when that was concluded, then I applied for my first full-time position in Wisconsin. I was there for 2 years and then came here when this position opened.
So what type of research did you do?
So originally it was supposed to be with beef cattle, which is what most of my graduate work was in. However, there was a lot of logistical challenges, as you can imagine, in a developing country. And so I kind of pivoted a little bit, and my research was looking at some nutrition in actually goats. So small ruminants, which is the type of animal, nutritionally kind of similar to cattle. So we looked at feeding palm kernel meal, which is a byproduct of palm oil industry. And so it was honestly a pretty easy thread from what I had done in graduate work. And so I took some opportunity and took advantage of what animals I had available to me. And I also taught a few classes. They have English requirements for their undergrads, so I got to teach some English, some of my expertise classes, but in English down there as well.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell me more about what you do of chair of this department, what all it encompasses.
Well, so I guess first and foremost, as a chair at this university, we're still full-time faculty members. So I still have all of the same responsibilities as my colleagues in the department, which would include teaching a variety of classes, advising students academically, serving on committees, all of that. And then on top of that, then I take on the administrative role. So that would be managing the faculty, managing the program, so the curriculum, managing the animals out at the farm. Though we do have farm managers also that do the day-to-day. I kind of oversee that. And then the staff and both full-time staff and then student employees as well. So we are kind of I like to say, and I know coming up, maybe we'll talk about this, but a lead from the middle, right? I'm kind of amongst my colleagues, and I lead directly and help get them aligned for their classwork and make sure they're doing what they need to do from a self-development, professional development standpoint. And then, all of the fun stuff like budgets and approving expenses and all of that strategic planning as well.
That is a lot on your plate.
It is a lot.
So, what are a few of the most challenging aspects of your job, and what's the most
Most
rewarding?
rewarding. Okay, so challenging, I alluded to that a little bit. There's a very important balance that you have to strike between satisfying your faculty and your student needs with maybe some unfun things like the budget and administrative needs. And so you do kind of lead from the middle. You don't have the final say in everything. You have some say in some things. So you're advocating, but you're essentially still having to produce leadership at a middle level. And so it does create some unique challenges. Rewards, I still get to be a faculty member. So my favorite thing is when a student comes to me and says, hey, guess what? I got into vet school. Or they send you just a nice email saying, hey, I really appreciate you spending some extra time with me or whatever. It's those one-on-one interactions that we get to have. Luckily, we're still a relatively small university, and have an advantage of that is having really meaningful relationships with students at an individual level. So the mentorship that we get to carry on, and the guidance that we get, and whether they go to vet school or whether they go on to a career position, those successes are in some ways our successes too.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, I'm curious, I'm thinking as you're talking about that, because maybe this shows my age or
Hmm.
ignorance, but it in some ways it seems like animal science, you might tend to think it's more of a male
Hmm.
dominated role. What is the breakup, or the makeup,
Makeup.
not the
Yeah.
breakup, the makeup
Yeah.
of your
That's a,
students
a
that you see?
really good question. So, I guess traditionally you're right. So, animal science used to be more about just plain animal husbandry. It was very back to the farm kind of maybe 60 years ago. That was the degree. And it really has evolved into a true science. And it encompasses a wide and diverse range of different areas. And it used to be male dominated. Now, I think in part, some of the explanation is a large portion of our students are actually pre-veterinary medicine. And so that has over the last probably 15 to 20 years shifted more female. Here, I think we're closer to like 80% female, 20% male
Really?
in our degree. And I think we tend to skew more female anyways at a whole university, but not that drastically. But our degree, and I think also you think caretaking and nurturing, I think that
Hmm.
tends to attract a lot of females as well, as they're interested in maybe working in a zoo or in a humane society or some type of companion animal. But traditionally, it is learning about livestock, and that is where the root of our curriculum is. With our core experiential learning is with cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs. Though what we learn about those is transferred out to any variety of animals. So whether that's restraint and handling, whether that's our understanding of biology and physiology, whether that's animal health, all of those can come back to kind of the model being livestock.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you offer women who want to get behind the wheel
Hmm.
and lead in this field?
My position in particular does require a graduate degree. Working in higher ed in general generally requires a master's or a PhD. But I guess my advice is that you don't have to go to graduate school to be a leader. I think there's certain characteristics that embody what a leader is, and things that, especially again, my perspective would be those undergraduates coming up through the ranks. But things to look at would be like the ability to have grit and persistence, saying yes. And when I say saying yes to things, that would be say yes to study abroad, or say yes to that internship out of state, and be open to experiences and networking. It's hard to understand maybe at a younger age the importance of networking, but you grow into that, and certainly it is sometimes about who you know and in that handshake. being willing to do the work in our field. That might be physical, that also may be academic. The pre-vet program that we have here, and certainly consistent across the nation, is one of the most rigorous academic programs that you can go through as an undergrad. And getting into veterinary school is, in some regards, some people say harder than getting into medical
I've
school.
heard that.
So,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of effort. And then I would say the last thing is show initiative. Be willing to work hard and set goals for yourself, so you can have a plan to and how you can lead, and that translates, all of those are translatable skills even that I use today. We talk about strategic planning, or what vision do we have for the next year, 5 years, 10 years. How can we be of service to the university or the community? And so I think all of those things make you well-rounded and have a diverse set of experiences that people want to say yes to you being put into a leader, and maybe in turn see you as a leader, in terms of kind of backing you and supporting you in your leadership as well.
Well, that is great advice. I can see why they chose you to be the
Thank
chair.
you. Yes.
So thank you for taking time today to meet with us and share a little bit about what you do. I've known you
I know.
and still didn't know all of this. So
You're
this
not
is
asking the right question.
I wasn't asking the right questions. So thank you for sharing with us
Absolutely.
today.
Happy to.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing your leadership journey today.
And let's hit the road and find out who's next in the driver's seat.